In the quiet stretches of Port Coquitlam, British Columbia, a chilling wind seemed to carry whispers of the horrors hidden within a seemingly ordinary pig farm. Owned by Robert William Pickton, this farm was the stage for some of the most gruesome acts in Canadian history. Known as the Pig Farm Killer, Pickton's story is not just a tale of murder, but a macabre testament to human depravity. Robert Pickton was not always the infamous character now etched in the annals of criminal lore. His transformation from an ordinary farmer to a notorious killer is a journey into the darkest recesses of humanity. Born on October 24, 1949 in Port Coquitlam, British Columbia, Robert Pickton was the second of 3 children in a working-class family. His early life on the farm was marked by hardship and isolation, factors that would later play a role in his psychological development. The Pickton family was known locally for their pig farming, but beneath the rural routine, there were undercurrents of dysfunction and neglect. From an early age, Robert showed signs of social withdrawal and difficulty in forming connections with people outside his immediate family. The farm itself, a sprawling piece of land filled with the sounds and smells of livestock, became Robert's refuge and playground. However, it was also a place where the lines between life and death were blurred daily. The transition from a troubled farmer to a cold-blooded killer did not happen overnight. Robert Pickton's farm became his sinister arena, where he lured vulnerable women with promises of money and shelter. Once isolated in his domain, these women met a fate that is difficult to comprehend in its brutality and inhumanity. Pickton's selection of victims was calculated. He preyed predominantly on sex workers from Vancouver's downtown east side. The horrors that unfolded on the Pickton farm were hidden from the world for years. Reports of missing women began to accumulate. Yet the connections to Pickton were not immediately made. It was only through the relentless efforts of families and activists that the plight of these women began to gain attention. The initial discovery on the Pickton farm did not immediately uncover the depth of the atrocities committed there. It was a slow and painstaking process as investigators sifted through mountains of forensic evidence. The farm was a chaotic tableau of discarded belongings and human remains, a testament to the many lives brutally cut short. This complex crime scene presented unique and horrifying challenges for the investigators. It was through advanced forensic techniques, including DNA analysis, that the true horror of Pickton's crimes began to surface. The trial of Robert Pickton began in 2006, amidst a media frenzy and a palpable demand for justice from the public and the families of the victims. The courtroom became the arena, where the gruesome details of his crimes were laid bare, each testimony and piece of evidence adding weight to the burden of grief and outrage felt by the community. Pickton faced multiple charges of murder, each count representing a life brutally and prematurely extinguished. The legal proceedings were exhaustive and emotionally charged, with the prosecution presenting overwhelming evidence of his guilt. The testimonies from forensic experts, combined with the horrifying accounts of survivors, painted a damning portrait of a man who had exploited the vulnerabilities of his victims to fulfill his macabre desires. Ultimately, Robert Pickton was convicted of several counts of second-degree murder. The verdict, while delivering some measure of justice, was met with mixed reactions. The dark tale of Robert Pickton is more than a narrative of gruesome murders. It is a story that has forced society to confront uncomfortable truths about vulnerability, justice, and the value of human life. The impact of his crimes extends beyond the immediate horror to provoke a broader discussion on how such atrocities could have been prevented and how similar tragedies might be avoided in the future. The case has highlighted critical gaps in the social and legal systems that allowed Pickton to prey on vulnerable individuals for so long. It has spurred legislative and procedural changes aimed at enhancing the response to missing persons reports and improving the safety nets for at-risk populations. Furthermore, the case has catalyzed a societal shift towards greater awareness and advocacy concerning the issues faced by marginalized communities, particularly in urban centers. In conclusion, while the legal chapter of the Robert Pickton saga has closed, its lessons and repercussions continue to resonate within the corridors of justice and the alleys of public consciousness.